Welcome to the Collage Podcast, a production of Feed My Sheep. Feed My Sheep is a nonprofit in Temple, Texas that has a goal of feeding people that are hungry physically, spiritually, and emotionally. In this podcast, we discuss Scripture, and our hope is that you would be fed spiritually through the reading and discussing of His Word. We're glad you're here.
Hey, we want to welcome y'all to another edition of the Collage Podcast. We have a special one today. And it's special in spite of the fact that Lucas is here. But so we're going to keep that. That was a joke.
Hi.
So today we do have two guests here, and we're going to have a little discussion. So we have Lucas and we have Heather. Hi. So what we will do,
Heather,
just at the start.
Hi, Jeff.
Hello, Lucas. At the start, Heather, introduce yourself to whatever level you would like to introduce yourself.
Hi, my name's Heather Cowan, and I am what they would consider probably a street queen out here, really, on the cool.
Aye.
But I probably am a little less grimy than a lot of the other street queens have maybe ever been, or maybe a little more hopeful sometimes. I don't know. Well, I get called super nice out here, and I think that's just hope.
Well, we're going to find out, Heather.
I'm not really that nice.
And Heather, for the record, you have a very nice voice.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we have Heather here. Interesting to me in your introduction. Didn't know that was going to be the introduction. Mm-hmm. Very different introduction. And then we have Lucas. Tell us about Lucas to whatever level.
Hello. My name is Lucas Coe. I'm sorry. I'm not going to do the accents today. I have a little bit of a problem. No, so I go by Lucas Cole. That's like my stage name. I got music and stuff, but that's neither here nor there. You can just call me Lucas. I'm not exactly sure how I got here. I'm still trying to figure that one out. But I am here. I'm staying at Salvation Army right now. So I kind of just started coming here to feed my sheep and hanging out with everyone.
Okay. And then here, for everybody out there, is a little place, like here, geographically, is a little place called Temple, Texas. So that's
Correct.
where Lucas and Heather would say. And we've run into each other at this place here, neither here nor there, which is Feed My Sheep. And that's where we're sitting right now. Okay, so that kind of catches us up there. Interesting introduction on it. And so I'd be amiss if we did not jump right off into it. Heather, in your introduction, your second sentence was that you said people would call me a street fiend.
Queen.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Tell me, so what does that mean, and what are we even talking about?
I would say that a street queen is somebody who is, it's not the same thing as like what people think as a kingpin or anything like that. It's not like about anything like that. It's about just doing well for the people around you, you know, and showing them, I guess, proper manners sometimes, honestly, down to just being a good-hearted person, and hopefully that instills in them to produce positivity instead of negativity.
Okay, good. Mm-hmm. So then,
it's like a role model out here, you know?
A role model. Mm-hmm. Okay, and so just for perspective, so in it, at the moment when we're doing this podcast, you are housed or unhoused? You live outside?
I live from couch to couch.
Okay, fair.
You know, so
because people, and Heather and I, we've known each other for a while up here. Mm-hmm. And so like that, the word unstable housing, I think, is this stupid word that they would put out there.
It's true. I mean, I've lived in an abando in the middle of winter. You know, I've lived, you know, I've never laid down on the street per se and just laid down, you know, and was like, this is it, this is my life, you know. I would rather move than to just, I guess, laying down would be like giving up almost.
Okay.
I was like, walked by this girl who was laying down, and I was like, you know what, you wouldn't even know that we were in the same situation, but we're both unhoused, you know, we were both unhoused, but she preferred to sleep her way through, and I couldn't do that. I can't do that.
Okay, how in the world do we not Okay, we're going to come back to that because that is a magnificent sentence. She chose to sleep her way through, and you chose not to. So we're going to come back to that. So, Lukas, tell me about you. At the moment, we would say, so Salvation Army is stable housing per se.
Somewhat.
Somewhat.
Yeah.
It is, but it is not in the traditional sense of stable housing in that. So the commonality that y'all would have in this discussion is y'all both understand the difficulty of being without a permanent home.
He's like bougie homeless,
He's
right?
bougie.
I am very bougie homeless. About as bougie homeless as you can be, for sure.
So we have in this, which is magnificent discussion, we have the queen of the streets and the most bougie of the unhoused we have.
I
right
don't
now.
claim that label. It's a joke. No.
It's because he stays at the Salvation Army. He's got housing and he's got a roof over his head. That's like bougie. That's like
Yeah. Well, I'm just a bougie human being in general, honestly. So because of my upbringing.
But what really is just like standards, honestly, like to not just accept what the world is throwing at you because of the choices you made.
Okay, tell me about that, Heather. That's magnificent in it. It is so. If anybody's listening, you have to be intrigued at this moment because already we're looking at getting a glimpse of a world that everybody tries to overgeneralize and make blanket stereotypes. Okay,
Yeah.
People who are unhoused in any generality of any group is wrong the minute it comes out of your mouth because you can't make an overgeneralization of any segment of the population and it to be accurate. But as a society, we seem to think, homeless, and
because they have a lot of time
okay,
on their hands, you know what I mean? That's really what it is, and they just need to fill that time up to void out that bad, and fill it with something good instead, and that's kind of what I try to do. I'm not always saying that I'm successful with it, can't save them all, but you can try to, motivate them to do well.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and it's like, I don't know. It's like, so I've been homeless since October, right? And I don't know. You have this very different view of homeless people before you become homeless, of course.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there's so many stereotypes, and a lot of them are, somewhat accurate. But
And what are those? Give me some stereotypical things that you think people perceive about somebody who has no home.
well, I mean, people will see, notice that some people are homeless, at least think that they're homeless anyways, and steer the other way because some homeless people can be somewhat violent. It's possible. They're human beings. So,
Yeah.
human beings can be violent if they're at, the bottom of the bottom.
Plus, they're like more, I don't know the word really to use, but they're more open with everything that they do because
okay.
everything is out in the open to them. Like, they do everything out in the open.
Yeah.
They use the bathroom out in the open. They will, bathe out in the open. They will, I've been there, you know what I mean? I've
Yeah.
bathed in a water hose before, you know what I'm saying? So, nothing is off limits almost to them
Right.
because everything's on view for the world to see.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of people uncomfortable that someone's so comfortable just doing things that you wouldn't normally do.
Sitting there smoking a pipe,
Yeah.
per se, and it's crazy. Like,
And just for point of reference, we're not not implying that you would be this person because we have so we're not getting in trouble with any legal stuff. But a
Look.
pipe is not like the grandpa's pipe. You would be referring to
as like,
maybe a meth type
or
of
even,
product or a crack
pipe.
or ice.
I've
or,
seen it like on the videos. They're just sitting on the subway smoking crack, and I'm like, man, because I think of kids instantly, because I'm a mother of 5, so.
You have 5 children?
I have 5 children.
I did not know that, Heather.
I have 5 children. My oldest one is a track star, actually, and
Oh,
got
wow.
23rd and 24th in cross-country state track 2 years in a row for girls.
Congratulations
That's awesome.
on that.
Yep, she's 18, and then my youngest one is almost 11, so.
Okay. Okay. Wow. And so then just for perspective, because a lot of people don't know you. So, Lukas, you have been in this environment since October.
Correct.
This. So what is last October will be 2023.
Yeah, so
Okay.
pushing 7 months probably.
Okay, and then Heather, you have been in this environment, if you would
For
guess,
a long minute, like 4 years.
4 years.
But I haven't always been unhoused, but still, when it doesn't matter whether you're housed or not, it's about the people, right,
Okay.
that you interact with and the things that you're doing. Really, that is what's making, I guess, it homeless kind of just doesn't even matter at that point, you know? It's,
Okay.
Right.
You know what I mean? It doesn't matter if you have a house or not. It's about the people that you mess with.
And what does that
the
mean?
things that you're doing and the motions that you're putting out into the world, you know? Because you can be moving and not doing anything, you know? But
And what does that mean? Tell me what that means. That's an interesting sentence. You have got some very deep. You can be moving but not going anywhere.
what do you think it means, Lucas?
Well, okay, so for me anyways, I think about, well, I've done a few little stints in jail, nothing crazy, 4 months here, 3 months here, stuff like that. And when you're trapped in a little secluded area like that, the people around you make it much better or much worse. And I mean, it's just the same, like out here, being like I try and surround myself with positive people because life is already, you know, really negative and hard. And like people like me, I've got terrible anxiety and depression, you know, that I've struggled with, I'm doing better with, but it helps being surrounded by positivity, you know. Like I think that's one reason I ended up here at Feed My Sheep, honestly, is just, I don't know, I was trying to gravitate away from, I didn't want to be around people that are using drugs or, you know, choosing like a street lifestyle. And I came over here and found some kind of purpose, you know. I met Miss Christie first. I'll never forget it. She's awesome. And yeah, I just started meeting people around here, and I don't know how I got here, like I always say, but I'm here, you know, and I'm just trying to make the best of it. And yeah.
So maybe you didn't even make that motion for yourself then, huh?
I don't know. These days, I really attribute everything to God, but
Yeah.
I mean, I really think we're all here for a reason. We have some purpose.
And he brought us all here.
Oh,
Every
yeah.
single one of us, he brought us here, whether we knew the motions we were doing in life or not, I think.
Yeah.
Because I think sometimes I was working on autopilot.
Well,
You
I
know?
was talking to a friend of mine at Salvation Army, right? And so someone was trying to make this argument that there's no God, right? And I was like, how can you possibly believe? Like, for me, there's a better argument for God than not God, you know?
Because, I mean, could you imagine the world without one?
Oh my gosh.
I couldn't. That's the scariest thing to me. That is the scariest thing to me, is to think about a world without a God. Like, that's scary to me. That is the ultimate.
Well, and there's that, and like the 1 of a trillion or whatever the odds are that everything just happened by chance and perfectly aligned, and you know, like just everything that happens is a coincidence. I don't buy that. There's no way. But
No, and that's an interesting deal there. Okay, so we can't leave that unturned in this. Okay, so like let's just several things. I don't even know how to unpack. Like usually I don't. So mine, we're going to go first to this concept of it's in this world of the unhoused, everything is just on display for everybody to look at.
yeah.
And then so in it you go, because there's nowhere to go. I mean, you're out on the street. If you're in a relationship with somebody and y'all are having an argument, guess what? It's on the street.
streets.
Okay, and you're having a dispute.
Every block you can count a memory on, I promise you.
And so these interactions, everybody gets to see, and then they're making these judgments, and they're looking at that and go, look at them over there arguing. And this.
Here we go again.
That's right. Or you're
It's
having
not what you say, it's how you say it that matters in public. I'm telling you, the whole monotone of your voice matters, because you
Yeah.
can say something rude, and crude, and it's not going to matter because nobody paid attention because your voice didn't go out of dialect or pitch or tone.
Well, I'd agree. That's a whole
That's
other.
it. And that's how you.
Well,
And that's how you don't display it and still get away with it.
Yeah.
just for the record, we're going to go on this. Lucas, you're boring me to death at this juncture. I'm just kidding on that.
What?
Heather is extremely intriguing here. Like listening the weight of
How am I supposed to match up?
Agreed. Like this is intriguing, and we're gonna like the weight of individual sentences that you were saying are huge. Like I
it's
can't.
all
Like
very
I'm not
true.
generally stumped, but we're gonna talk about that, and then this idea that y'all both would say life is difficult. Okay, like we're not going to like candy coat it and to go, hey guys, you've had this easiest of lives, and we're not even going to insult and go, hey, tell me how you got here. No, but in it, both of y'all quickly jump to the place of, I can't imagine that there would be a world that God didn't exist in. I can't
No
even
way.
fathom that, and it would be so. For somebody on the outside, I will admit, I have a place to stay. Okay? It's easy for those that are on the outside of the difficult world that y'all live in to say, oh, yeah, God, he's good and all this because they got all this other stuff.
Yeah.
It would be so easy for me, I would think, I'd go, man, it'd be so easy for Heather to go, forget this God thing. Look what he's done to me.
Yeah.
Why?
I
Tell me
found-
about why not.
I found my path to
Okay.
God here in this town. Like I always believed in God, but it wasn't like something that was instilled in my family but my mom was very spiritual and she believes in God and she now more than ever in her life because I call my mom and I talk to her about the things that I'm going through, and I'm like, Mom, did you know that numbers always add up, or did you know that it was so crazy that your stepdad's last name was Cowan, and did you know, and she's just like, she didn't know all this stuff, so she was listening very intriguedly to my journey with God and how I found it. And
How'd you find him?
ironically, when I finally found him, a man they called Devil actually helped me find
Really?
my true way to God. He was very
His
God-fearing.
nickname was Devil?
His
Yeah,
street
yeah.
name was Devil.
Oh, wow.
Of course, I thought it was a high side from God.
Sounds pretty scary.
You know what I'm saying? Because I don't look at me as a bad person. I look at me as a good person, a very good person, and I bring a lot of hope in, like I said, to people, and just my aura alone will make somebody feel better. And so I'm like, a man they call Devil. So when he knocked on the door and he said, hey, you want to take a walk with me? I said, my mom said to never go outside with a man named Devil after dark. And I closed the door on him.
Why did they call him Devil? I
I
gotta
don't
know.
think it was anything other than just maybe a position that he maybe filled.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Or he might have done some really bad things.
He might have been a little grimy back in the day. One day he looked at me and he said, I don't want to be called Devil no more.
Yeah.
He said, I don't. He said, how do you get what you want without aggression, without the aggression? And I said, well, baby, they already fear you. So I would say just say it, because they're going to do it anyway because they already fear and respect you. With fear comes respect, I mean,
So-
with respect comes fear a little bit. You got to be scared a little bit of that person to kind of respect them a little bit, like whether it's their authority or them themselves, which that's just,
Okay, let me ask you on that. In the world, on the street, because it seems how important is respect?
the utmost.
Okay, tell me about that.
Okay, well, respect. No, I don't see it. I mean, it's important. It's important. It's important everywhere, but like, it's a different kind of respect out here. I think from like, I mean, there's like a hierarchy of things, just like everywhere else. You've got the drug dealers, and I mean, I don't hang around any of these people, but I have, just not recently. But like, so out here, fear is one of the big motivators,
Right.
There's also hatred and all these, other feelings, but like fear is like, I don't know. I mean, you're going to leave somebody alone if you fear them. So, and then there's also the respect
Or you're
of,
going to want to get out of their way.
Yeah,
as
exactly.
quickly as you can if you fear them, because that's kind of like a bully, But I mean, at the same time, if you give them what they want, they will go away.
yeah.
That's the truth.
That is
But
true.
like, whenever it comes to like, I know that I have watched people before they even had the chance to mash on to tiptoes on somebody's toes. They just went ahead and mashed it because they already knew, because the games are all the same out here.
Yeah.
That they play, and they've got, like I said, so much time. That, I mean, I'm kind of bougie too. I'm not gonna lie. Okay, I'm very bougie. Okay, I have to have my makeup and I have to have clothes. But I stopped getting clothes from anybody out here that would like sell clothes or anything, because I started going to Ross and buying my clothes. Because then
Why?
nobody can say that it's theirs, because I'm gonna give it back.
Okay.
If they come and tell me that something belongs to them, and they can without a doubt, most of the time I'm just going to give it to them anyway, because they're probably going to steal it from you anyway.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I just turn it into something positive instead of letting it be negative. But I'm just not going to, I can say, no, 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 no. I bought my stuff. I buy my own stuff. I don't live out here broke. I just live the street life, but I don't live out here broke like that. Like, I take care of myself. I eat every day.
Yeah.
And most of the time I'm in a hotel room, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Well,
So-
see, on that like respect thing, right? Like for me, I've been homeless 6-7 months, and I don't subscribe to this. I don't want to stay out
Yeah.
here. I mean, like I've done the couch hopping thing in the past, whenever I was younger. But actually being homeless, this is a whole different beast. But my perspective is, I don't care if anybody really respects me. I'm going to be myself no matter what. If you don't like it, well, it's too bad. Move along. I'm a lot of these, like a lot of people that I'm on the streets with, I'm never going to see them again. I mean, once I'm off the streets. And, so I just try and do the best I can to help people. But if someone doesn't respect me, I can't control that.
So
and
I have
I'm not
a
going to
question
chase
for
it.
you.
Oh,
Better, okay. Do you feel like when you were at your worst, you were doing better in life? Or do you feel like when you're at your best, you're doing worse in life?
Define better.
wait.
Like-
Interesting question.
Like, when it comes to
Like financially better?
with like your mental well-being, your core well-being, like
Oh, definitely not. Well, I mean, I feel like, this is the craziest thing, right? Because I've had money, I've not had money. I've had a lot of money, I've not had money. But like, I don't know. It's like being homeless has brought me this weird sense of peace. It's really strange. Like I still deal with the anxiety and stuff like that, but
but
financially, no, I'm
battling
not better. But
battling addiction or of any type of
yeah.
like being not homeless and being in the middle of an addiction.
Well, see
As
that.
to being sober and to being in a homeless shelter
Well, see, it was very different.
is
for
what
me.
I mean by that.
Yeah.
Well, it was very different for me because I had already got clean, back in like 2019. So when I became homeless, I'm not drinking, I'm not smoking, and
Right, that's
so
what I'm saying.
I don't even have that temptation because, well, that goes back to talking about the people you surround yourself with. Like I don't put myself in situations, and if I'm in situation, I'm gonna get away from it. But yeah, no, I mean, but mentally though, it's strange. Like, I feel like I'm doing better mentally than I have in years since I became homeless. I don't know. I got different perspectives on things, and I haven't had any depression or anything like that,
Interesting.
which is
Okay,
odd
so
thing.
well, ready, Heather. You answer the question that you posed.
Okay, so I've lived the white collar life.
Yeah.
I was a team leader at Kawasaki Motors up in Missouri, and so I was a CNC machinist. And so
What?
yes, and that's my trade. And so me and my kids' father we was like right next to each other working side by side for years, and then he decided that we grew up too fast, and so that all came to a halt. But we had 3 cars, 3 kids, a mortgage payment by the time we was like 20 and 21. So we had perfect credit. Like we had something to prove to
Okay.
the world. You know what I'm saying? So like I've lived that life too. And so, but I grew up in the street world. Although my mom always kept a home, Like, we always had a house. I grew up in the same house since I was 15, you know? So, but the streets came through because my parents were addicts. So,
Okay.
me and my brother, we used to mess with them so bad. You know, we used to play their little games that they like to play. We used to mess with.
What does play the little games
Play
mean?
the little games. Like, we're going to put a roll of packing tape across all the DVDs for Mom because she thinks that people are stealing her DVDs. So if they take one, they're taking them all. So that way she don't freak out later on thinking they stole her DVDs, you know, because that's a big thing out here is stealing. Anyway, so, but we always had a home, you know. So my mom, she used to come in and wake me up almost every night and talk to me that she would be awake, you know. And she would talk to me and tell me about this world that I was surrounded by but didn't even look at it as different or indifferent even, you know what I'm saying?
How old were you?
My whole life, my mom
Okay.
used. My
Okay.
mom and dad used. Now they don't. You know, my mom's clean and sober,
Okay.
and she had a stroke. But yeah, she's definitely a whole different person,
Okay.
completely. And yeah, she's just completed now, I guess, is the best word to put. But so
So you like the world that you're in.
yeah, that
you would call
I
it-
surround myself. So it's not as hard for me to be around it and not want to dive in it because I don't like. I can be around it and it can be in my face, and me not even have. I'm an empath, so I can be around it and get that feeling from it like that, which can still be dangerous because it can spiral you into a downward spiral. To be an empath and to just feel those feelings of people being high and getting high off that.
But
But
there's
get-
also the peer pressure aspect of it. That
that
doesn't
don't even bother
affect
me,
you.
and not even a little bit. And you know, I was pressured so much since I was a girl growing up in this world around a whole bunch of people who are, you know, I mean that it is true. You know
we-
about that world. There is a dark side to it that people don't like to see or
What is
admit.
that? Okay, that
And-
we got. So here, not cutting you off, like because I got to know. So, is it? You're going to speak on behalf of a whole population, which is an unfair question, even before I pose it. So I'm not asking. Do you think it's more difficult for a lady to be unhoused or for a guy to be unhoused?
For a guy,
For a guy,
yes.
tell me about that. Really? Okay, go
Yeah,
ahead.
unless he can find a woman who has the same wants that a man has out there, and it's hard to find that because it's easy for a female to find a house under any kind
Oh,
of.
okay.
You know, I mean, I'm just saying, like it is like
And you would have that
there
would
are
mean
a lot of gullible people out there that fall for a lot of gullible things out there, and I just am amazed. I can't be like that. That's not who I am. Like I just cannot promise you something I'm not gonna do.
okay,
I
fair.
can't fake it to make it.
Yeah.
I am not gonna. Nope. What? No. You know what? And I've even been known to, if they come up and they try to solicit me, I will take their money and then I'll say it's mine now. Call the police. What you gonna do?
And so-
Because after 5 years almost, what are they gonna do? Like no. Like, no, I mean, it's been 5 years, the same cars drive around, you know, and you would think by now they would have gotten it. But they don't.
But they
so,
don't.
But they don't.
Yeah, they should
So-
probably know a little better.
Yeah, but they don't. They don't. And so they continue to try. And so it's easier for a woman to be housed, yes, it is, because under false pretenses, unless that's.
Well, there's like the societal standards, you know, that have been set for years for men and women, you know. I mean, men are supposed to be providers and, you know, I mean, I don't know, it's tough, you know, because I've never slept on the street, you know, like the actual street, like the sidewalk,
I have.
you know, in an alley.
I have slept on the sidewalk, but I've always had a good. I've never had to, you know. I chose to prove a point. I think a time or two. It was a stupid point to prove.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of people though that I've met that would prefer sleeping on the street. I don't know. I don't fully understand it because I'm always going to have a roof no matter what, you know.
I don't either. I don't understand the whole street, sleeping on the streets. Now, I've been in some places that have been so bad that I'd rather sleep on the streets.
Yeah.
You know, that part of it, you know, where whether it was mental or just the the whole atmosphere itself, but
Right.
Temple is very, very spiritual here. So a lot of these people out in these streets are really just trying to find their way back home to God, you know?
Okay.
Yeah, and with that, I feel like since I came to Temple a couple months ago, compared to Houston, I mean, it's easier here. It just is. Houston is very rough. I mean, that's the worst stuff I've ever seen in my life, honestly.
Probably. A lot more chaos and mayhem
Oh my
going
gosh.
on there.
I mean, because we would have to take the train to go from one end to the other, and people were wild out there. It was in the middle of the winter, you know, it was like 20 degrees outside. But there was people out there in blankets just shivering, and I felt horrible for them, you know. But
And then you think about where their life has gotten, or you know what they went through to be that way. And most of the time, you know, it's always going to come back to something that they have altered their mind with.
yeah, drugs
of
are
the
usually
time.
involved. Yeah.
Okay. Well, then have to. So then,
For
what?
self-medication.
Okay. So
most
then,
of the time.
so Heather, how did this journey in your life begin? How did we get here?
To
And then
Temple?
in Temple and in this unhoused world.
Well, I was so I was a mom, you know, I was better than a Pinterest mom, you know what I mean? Like I was still mid-addiction though.
Okay.
And I was still being a functioning mother, you know, to my children, still doing PTA, still doing, like, seriously, had 2 minivans, okay, type thing. And, well, just, so there's,
And we can leave. Like, so we're not going to go anywhere.
It's okay. It's just, so me and my stepdad, we didn't always get along, you know, and so since I was 14, he decided that he didn't want to be my dad no more. And so some things, you know, happened. And my mom stayed with him. And so my whole life, I faked it to make it. That's why I won't do that no more. You know,
What does that mean?
That means I smiled and did what I was supposed to do.
Said all the right
And
things.
said all the right things, acted the right ways, and nobody never knew.
Nobody ever knew.
Nobody ever knew. Even my school counselor didn't ever know. She became my kids' counselor.
But you knew.
But I knew, but I was still able to love my parents, my mom, to not have to be alone, you know, and for her to think about the way that my mom felt about that whole situation. It really made me sad for her, you know what I'm saying? And then for my brothers to not have, he was our stepdad, but still he was a good dad to them.
Right.
So that's called agape.
What's it called?
Agape, which is like unconditional.
Oh, agape. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
Agape.
Uh-huh.
Okay, unconditional, unobligated love is what I call it. Okay. So just to love somebody more than yourself.
So you were living.
Since I was young. So I grew up very young.
Okay.
Okay. So, like, these are grown up decisions that you're having to make when you're 14 years old. And so I had my first kid when I was 17.
Okay.
And he raises all 5 of my children. And 2 of them are not his. My younger 2 are not his. But he went and got custody of them because I didn't want them to have the same life that I lived, you know. And I know my mom's a different person, but my stepdad's still around. And that's him still beating me, you know, being in my children's lives when I chose to leave that situation because I felt like I was the problem. You know what I mean? Like, so to leave your kids is a hard choice to make.
Good gosh.
It's a very hard choice to make. And because you're going crazy because now he's coming back home to live with just you and your kids.
Right.
And what kind of fantasy does he get to live in? So it's pretty, you know, scary stuff like that, to think like that. So I literally kind of went and I lost it mentally. I'm not the same person that I am now that from when I came to Temple.
So did you start using drugs and alcohol like at a young age?
Very young.
Why do you think you started using? I'm just curious because I started at a young age as well. I was probably 14 or so.
Yeah, for like The hard drugs, or like the
Well,
gateway,
yeah. I mean,
drugs?
because we all a lot of us started that I've spoken to anyways. Alcohol, marijuana. I think that's the normal.
13 and 14.
Yeah. I was
Yeah.
14, and
Yeah.
what were you? You just had problems at home, or you just?
I mean, we came from a very small town, so there really wasn't much else to do. So
Yeah.
that's really what it was. But we were also hanging out with older kids, because it's a very small town, So, and then it was socially acceptable in my life.
Right.
For
'Cause
my
you
parents
said your
being
mom was
addicts,
using and
my
everything.
mom and my stepdad and just all of their friends, I didn't sneak out of my house. I never had to.
Yeah.
My parents are going to be out walking around. You got me messed up. If
Right.
I'm getting caught, I'm just going to go ask my mom if I can go.
Yeah. That was the same. That was the same for me. Oh my
Like
God.
I'm not just. Why would I get in trouble for sneaking out when I ain't got to? She's going to help me sneak my boyfriend in just because she like I don't know. Just I guess it was her way of giving back. For the whole stepdad thing. And without really knowing it, but. She was kind of a stinking thinking 33.
see, my
And now she's a 22. So she was, but she taught me that world though, and I think, for a reason. So to help prepare me better for I have a very high tolerance to bull crap.
yeah.
Like very high tolerance to bull crap. Not only did that help with having 5 children, them all coming in at you all at once after school. Imagine 5 kids. Mom, mom, and answering every single question in order and not skipping a beat. And, it was very crazy. But, yeah, when my stepdad said he was going to come back home and live with me, I lost it.
Okay.
I lost it, and I was walking around this place lost. This was not my first stop. I went to St. Joseph, Missouri first, and I lived way bad there, way bad. Like, I think the longest I ever went without a shower was probably 2 weeks, and at that point, look, I'm not playing. I started a closet called Heather's Hand-Me-Downs, and we would go
wild.
and get donation bin clothing, right? And I will own up to this because I would give it out to all the homeless people who needed clothes, because when you're walking around and you're not smelling so great, you're not feeling so great,
So let me. You were in this place in Missouri. Okay, that on the streets, difficult path of your life, and you still started a place that other people could come get clothing from you. Why?
Because to know what it's like to know what it's like to be out there with nothing, and to not have that available to you, because, well, my boyfriend was real grimy up there, and he was not allowed a lot of places. So therefore, that's a reflection of you, That's your other half, and you better stand with it or get away from it, So you got to stand with it, I guess, if that's what you're choosing to do. And at some point, I just went and dropped him back off.
Return to sender right there.
That is so very true.
Wow. Good. Great. I will give you credit. This intriguing to no end. And before we go, so in it, I will say, not that I have any right to say anything. I am so sorry about what happened to you when you were 13 or 14.
Well, it didn't stop there, It was until I was 31 years old, y'all. When I came here to Texas is when it stopped, because I told him, listen, the next time you see me, I will be here to collect my children and my mom. And you don't, because it's a privilege to be in our lives. And I've forgiven you for more than what I ever should have. More than once, giving you chance after chance, and you continue to just, for some reason, think that you own me or try to delegate my life. Warren G is not here. We don't need no regulators, dear. So I'm just saying, so I give him one more chance before I left, and when I left, that's what I told him, And he reaches out sometimes to me and tells me he's sorry, but then words don't mean nothing to me, because their actions, that motion thing, when you're moving but not doing anything with it, That's what I'm talking about. His actions and his motions are not the same as his words.
Yeah.
So,
In redneck world, we would say, I can't hear what you're saying because your actions are way too loud. Mm-hmm. And so I'd say that, I can't hear what you're saying. And so, interesting. Lukas, tell me about you. So how did we...
Well, I don't know. It's like, do we want to go far back? Because
Heather evidently did.
well, so
Sometimes.
I started drinking alcohol when I was about 13. My grandfather was a bad alcoholic. He was a great man, but a bad alcoholic. And I started smoking weed, 14 and all that. And then because my mom was an opioid addict, and every time you see my mom, she's just, got that nod going. So everyone knew what she was doing. And so she had been getting a divorce from my stepdad when I was like 14. And she had this boyfriend that came in. He was a songwriter named Kenny King in Dallas. And he was like really instrumental in getting me into that whole world of songwriting, besides parts of my family. But so he introduced me to pills. OxyContin was really big at the time,
did
especially.
it bring out the creative side? Is that
Oh,
what
yeah.
Is that what he was instilling with it?
Well, so they were selling their prescriptions to pay the bills at the time, and so I wanted to make some money at the time as well. I was a kid.
So you weren't doing them. You were just...
Oh, no. At the time, I was just drinking and smoking, but it turned into me doing them real quick. But yeah, I started out trying to help him sell some pills. And because back then, you could doctor shop. So you're going to 3 different doctors for the same prescriptions back then. There's no registry, where the pharmacist could see. And so that was I think I always attribute that to being instrumental in my life, to setting me on this path, of where I was going to go. It's just, I started using Xanax for my anxiety. I was getting panic attacks really bad, which I still deal with, but I was doing it where I was blacking out, and that got me into using OxyContin by the time I was 16. It was strange though, juggling that with football and everything that was going on at the same time, because I was half the time I was present, half the time I wasn't. I don't know how I lasted as long as I did.
It depended on my cheerleading practice. If I was stoned or high, as to how many counts behind or ahead I am.
Yeah.
I'm the cool. I'd either be way ahead of them or way behind. And I'm oh well. I'm whatever. And yeah, my boyfriend, he was not the quarterback, but the guy that sold the quarter bags. I said he just sold weed, But
He wasn't the quarterback.
Yeah, but
He sold the quarterback.
But he straightened up his life, though. He's a really good man, and he really did straighten up his life, and he has all of my children, so I'm very proud of him. But yeah, I'm very proud of that man.
Wow. Wow. And then, for Lukas, back in that day, OxyContin was non-addictive. So there was no...
Yeah, put the quotations on it.
So non-addictive, and there was no issues.
But
it was
the money
first...
of it...
Says
the
Purdue
money of it
Pharma.
was-
Yeah. So we now know...
The money of it was...
and the danger of that drug and what it has done.
Yeah, that was the whole, if you've seen that, we were talking about that show, Dope Sick, they're talking about, it's about how Purdue, they said it was non-addictive, and they put this label on it that was super misleading to the doctors. So they just started handing it out like candy. And I got to see that firsthand in my life, and it was horrible.
Yeah.
I don't know how many overdoses just with my mother alone. And then, I've got the music side of my family is insane. I've seen an unlimited amount of drugs just in my teens, and it shaped my life, throughout my 20s easily. And every recording studio I'd be up in, we've got cocaine, on a little mirror or something on the table, and you really just take your pick, and
It's not odd for it to be out.
No. A lot of times I would walk into a random studio. It would depend though, because you've got some studios, you've got A side, B side, C. You've got different rooms, for different things. But a lot of times I'd walk in a room, everyone would always be smoking, and then I'd get offered some cocaine, and really anything I wanted, I could just ask for, and I'd be able to find it real quick. So, because there'd be sometimes as many as 20 people in one room, depending. So,
Wow.
a crazy life, though. It's, yeah.
I will say that heroin is scarier because I've lived in a heroin trap house. Okay,
Yeah.
I've only done heroin a couple of times. Okay, but I knew that it was not for me, so I just never ever pursued that.
That was my drug of choice.
So, but I've seen it every day in front of me, and being the only one who didn't use in the house like that, like at all, heroin at all, man, it's scary. I've watched people almost itch themselves out of a second room story window because it felt so good. They couldn't stop itching, but they couldn't get their mind to function correctly that they're about ready to fall out of this window.
Yeah.
And because it felt so good,
Yeah, my best friend passed away in 2015 from a heroin overdose.
I watched my best friend almost die because of that. I saved his life, actually. So that was very scary, though. And you become super person whenever that's happening in front of you because your arms stretch and you don't know how you're holding this big person up in a chair and you're not very big.
That's one thing, like with drug culture and then being homeless. Like, I think the chaos you're constantly surrounded in just sets you up. Like, when you become homeless, all this chaotic stuff that's happening around you, you're used to it already. You're conditioned to, it's way outside of what you'd call normalcy, but it's not normal at all. But I think we're so used to everything being so chaotic.
Okay, good. So let me ask you, Lukas, on this, tell me what normal is to you. Tell me what normal means to you.
I don't know that normal exists, but I think for me, I picture it's really what society has painted as normal. Like you think of a mother and a father, right, that are together with their kids, great family, throwing the football with your son, doing all the things that I never had, as a kid. And
But tell me you're normal.
well, for me, that's usually what I picture, but I don't have any kids, so it's hard for me for me, normal is just not using drugs, being as good of a person as you can be anyways. And because you know right and wrong, especially if you're saved, and you see the world today, you can really see what normal and not normal is. And a lot of the stuff in our society now is not normal. I don't want to get too political or anything, but,
No, so fair. So tell me, Heather, tell me normal. What does normal look like to you right now, today?
Loud.
Okay, what does that mean?
If it's quiet, something's about ready to pop off.
yeah.
Tell me about that.
I'm just saying, like, if it's too quiet, because the noises of your neighborhood and the people who be wandering around. Look, and I haven't, like I said, I'm an empath, right? So I can go a long time with no sleep and no drugs involved, okay, as long as I don't sit down. So if I'm moving, I will be okay. But now I don't live like that so much anymore. But it was like that for a long time with my own self-paranoia that I created within my own self, Like, I remember one time waking up walking. I was walking, and I was like, whoa, where did I get this purse at? Where did I get these clothes at? Holy crap, it took me like 30 minutes to remember the last 3 days of my life. Like, that's how lost I was when I came to Temple. You know what I'm saying? Like, when I say autopilot and God's got me, He will not let me fail. He will not let me fail. I promise you that. Like, there are some times where I will say something so fly, but it's always the truth. And I get away with saying the truth, And I'm like, you just got to speak the truth to whoever it is that you're speaking it to. And then they'll always just respect you, and they can't do nothing about it because if it's the truth, and that comes to that level of respect, back to that respect thing, right? So if it's the truth, they have to respect that. And so there's no other way around it because the truth is the truth. And
I will tell you, this conversation intrigues me to no end. Like, we could go on, and we're going to have more. So, like, out of this, so I will say, I said before we even started, wasn't recorded, like, Heather is difficult to get, like, we're doing this one today simply because Heather was around, and she's
I
been
will
saying
be back.
I was going to
I will
do
be back. I promise. Like
Okay.
I had to sort out some dog issues and
And what
tie
we-
up a few loose ends, and you know.
And we sorted it out by Heather runs the show as she brought her dog up here. So the dog is staying in the room
but he is
with
just
us.
here sleeping.
Yep, Milo is in the
I
room.
told you he was gonna.
He's a very good dog, and he's right there with her.
all the time.
He is
And-
out.
What I would love to do, because we've had so much on this, like I'd love to have
There is so much more.
so
that goes
much.
deep.
This is
It
a
goes deep.
intro
gosh.
into the people here, because I want to. This is so intriguing to look at different stuff and to go more in of this. And
I will say that, like, being out there, the other thing that devil had done for me, Emertha, he'd say, sit down and be quiet, chill and be still, he'd say. And he made me just watch everybody around us, you know what I mean? Like, he would let me be sociable, but not too sociable.
okay,
I mean, not too sociable, okay? Even with other females, because he don't trust them. So I got to know who all these people were before they ever even knew who I was. Like, they knew I was with Devil. They see me all the time. But they didn't know who I was probably until after he had passed away, you know? So I already knew who they were because he showed me,
yeah.
you know?
And just for everybody out there, so we have mentioned that person's name. Devil passed away last year.
In 2022,
22. That's right. It's
August 8th.
and 22. Man, time goes quick.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But I can remember. I wasn't there for that, but I do remember Heather sitting in my office on that day, and that is burned in my head forever, and I will never forget.
You know what you seen that day? You seen the look of somebody who had somebody telling her every second, every minute, every hour of what she was going to be doing. And when you don't have that no more,
Yeah,
so now what?
that's right. And
You
then
walked around lost. I walked around so lost. It's so, because I didn't know anymore. Like, it's a feeling when they told me, you know, that he was gone, I just,
And then the other thing on that, like, and it wasn't, well, that look you had, and then it just was vile to me on such deep, deep levels to watch the predatory guys around here
gosh, yes.
that knew that
which
she.
is why it's so easy to get housed if
Well,
you are a
agreed.
female.
Oh, we can we put the names out there. There was plenty of rooms available for Heather.
As soon as they heard it,
Soon as
they heard the shot around the world that, you know, he had passed away, I promise you. That's why I'm not scared to walk across this town, because guess what? Somebody's gonna want to save me.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
It crazily makes sense, but it's true.
But it was that, and like this, I hope y'all out that are listening would find intriguing, because we're going to look, and so like both, we've got to get to the faith issue. That's a whole other discussion. We've got to talk about this, such a draw and the danger in this world that addiction has in it. I mean, you cannot not discuss the
Get
weight.
addicted to something good, you know.
Agreed. And then out of that, how y'all have been able to come back to a place that there's goodness in this world. It would be so easy to come to the place and to just, and you started this whole thing. I thought the sentence was brilliant. And when you said you walked by somebody and she was sound asleep, and this is not we're not talking about the sleep, but you decided you didn't want to just sleep life away. And
lay
so
down, and lay down,
lay down.
and lie down,
I'm
yeah.
going to keep going. And if nothing else, it is a great place to stop there for this one. We are going to pick up again. We've got to have this discussion. We have to. Heather, you're now in front of everybody. I'm getting a commitment. You're going to come back.
I'm going to come back.
And then we're going to, because you've got great questions and good discussion, and Lucas, great discussions.
And it's finally
Yeah.
a way for it to be heard, you know.
Agreed.
Out
I
there.
want, because out of this, we're not talking about a topic.
No.
And then every person who's got any ears, you had to have heard. Okay? We have a society that is making 12, 13, 14-year-old kids have to make decisions that they are not able to make. And then even worse, we have a society and people that are making decisions on behalf of their kids by doing wrong things to them that they have to live with for the rest of their lives when they're young kids. And it is wrong. It is wrong. And so you look at that and you're going, you know what? It's no wonder. And then the other thing you said we're going to look at it is, you know, in Temple, we have the side that we're on, which is the east side of town, which is, I like the east side of town. That's where we're at. And there's another side of town, which is west, and that's where affluence is. That's where the money is in Temple. Okay, what I like is what you said over here on this side of town, the people that we work with every day, every struggle and every battle that they face, it's in front of everybody. West Temple, they're able to keep it in the backyard behind the big fences. The same struggles are going on everywhere. Mm-hmm. They just look very different. And so make no bones about that. The things that we're talking about here, they are on the other side of town. It's just the wells over here. They just are more in your face on this side. And I would definitely.
This is like the raw and uncut version. And then the other side is like the cookie cutter.
That's right.
Hallmark version.
Yeah. So we have. So Heather is
or
not.
maybe just like functioning and dysfunctional, because it's not that they're not functioning out here. They're just
looks very different.
Dysfunctional. It just is
they
different.
do look very different.
Very
I've got
different.
to see all sides of the thing. So I think that's the biggest thing for me is I've got to literally see it all. And I mean, it's opened my eyes to a lot of things.
Okay. Well, we are going to set this on the calendar. Not that anybody out there listening, their calendar doesn't matter. You can
They
listen
will
to it.
start listening.
You
then.
have to. You have to. This is intriguing, and we have not even just touched the tip. Anybody who has got to be listening, going, they hadn't even touched the tip of what we're going to talk about. Okay? So we will close this one just with, this was the intro. We're done.
That was a good
An intro on that. So we now sort of know Heather. We sort of know Lukas. Milo the dog has got gas. So it is kind of making the room smell not too pleasant.
Ooh, man.
But we will say this, and we will end with this always, is here and Heather and Lukas and Bobby who's recording, everybody, we would say it every day at Feed My Sheep, that people matter.
And stay safe.
And stay safe in this world. And to know that and to hear that individual stories, we are all created by God and we are of worth, and his thoughts about all of us, they are good and pleasing thoughts. Mm-hmm. Make no mistake about that. And that's everybody. So interesting discussion. We're going to continue. Thank you for being here, Heather, finally, after all this time. Thank you, Lukas.
Thank
we
you, Heather.
finally did one.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Lucas.
Bobby.
Thank you, Bobby.
Everybody.
And we're out of here.
Jeff.
Thank you, people.
The Collage Podcast is produced by Bobby Jeffers in association with Feed My Sheep. Hosts are Jeff Stiegel, Karen Smith, Jonah Fox, and myself, Roy Rhodes. If you enjoy the podcast, please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or on whatever platform you're listening. Or like, share, subscribe, and get in the comments if you're watching on YouTube. We'd love to hear from you, so shoot us an email at digitalmedia@feedmysheeptemple.org. And may you be nourished for your journey with God.